Hey everyone, Chris Sawyer here. The Varietal Show is back. I am at Big Basin Tasting Bar right here in Santa Cruz. I love Santa Cruz, just by the way. It doesn't take a lot for twist my arm to get down here. I love the wines of Santa Cruz. And I will say one thing. This is my great friend, Bradley Brown. And Big Basin Winery, to me, is a great winery. That some people don't know it. Some people do. I mean, if you're a big Rhone Valley lover of America, this is definitely one that's why Bradley and I became friends a long time ago. But he also makes great Chenin Blanc like we're tasting right now, which is what's right here in this glass. Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. And Bradley, it's great to be here with you. And we're right downtown in San Jose, and Santa Cruz. And that is actually the Kaiser Permanente, the Warriors Stadium right there.
Yeah,
so the
G
League, yeah, G League right there, you guys. I mean, so if you ever can't get into the Warriors games, you just come down here, and then you have some great wines here.
Those guys are damn good.
Yeah, and one of the things is we could take you to the vineyard sites and everything, but they're so good looking at them right back here. Bradley, this is kind of where you started. This is your house up here that burned down, you guys, and it's sad, but the winery is right down here, and this is way up there in the mountains above us. And Bradley, tell us a little bit about what got you started in the, what said, I'm going to be a winemaker someday, and I just love this stuff, and I'm going to do it. And what the heck made you buy an amazing piece of property, but way the hell up there?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. I guess I was really naive. No. I mean, I grew up with a dad who was a home winemaker and in upstate New York, making like Catawba, Niagara, and Carboys.
Yeah.
And so always loved wine. And my brother lived in Paris for a long time and went to the Rhone Valley and was a serious Syrah fanatic. When I moved to California, I got to know different winemakers, different people. And I've always been creative and entrepreneurial, and when I needed a change in my life, I was like, I really want to get into the wine business because I like all the people I know. They're like cool people, like restaurateurs, people in wine and food. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do something, I want to do something where I'm hanging out with the people I want to hang out with, like you.
Well, we have fun together, him and I, and it's been a while since I've seen him. He's a really great promoter of the Rhone thing, and that's really where I started to get to know you. And this is actually, the Chenin Blanc is actually from, you can't really see it too well over here, but it's from actually up in the Chalon area there. And so from here, if we were to go down a little bit south of like Watsonville is kind of down south of Santa Cruz here, and then we take a turn and we get out there towards Salinas in that area. It's actually up there in the Pinnacles, which is kind of like looking right at the Santa Lucia Highlands.
Opposite side.
It's on the opposite side of the valley. So Steinbeck's, all those guys are down there in the middle, and then this one's up here, and this one's up here. I mean, you're doing some stuff with that vineyard there, and also there's another one right over here, the Coastview, Coastview. And so tell everyone, this was your original vineyard right here that you're talking about, but when we get into where you're also sourcing fruit now, and why you got really into Chenin's good, you guys. I love Chenin, and it's kind of really back in style. But I mean, we're making better Chenin than Chenin's ever been made right now. And so, what got you into making this Chenin?
Well, we were sourcing fruit from Rodnick.Farm, a certified organic vineyard. So Chalon is the southern end of the Gavilan Mountains, which is the next mountain range south of the Santa Cruz Mountains along the San Andreas Fault. So like Scenic Valley is the the San Andreas Fault.
Right.
And so we were started by getting the old Vine Mourvedre from there. And then the guy who owns it is such a good farmer, we started getting Pinot. And the Pinot's just absolutely gorgeous down there too. And then we knew we had Chenin, and I'd been drinking Chenins and just really loving Chenin. So I'm like, let's get some of this Chenin because it has the decomposed granite and calcareous shale soils.
Yep.
And that's like one of the bighorn sheep he actually has. He has Anatolian shepherds
Yep.
that are certified organic,
Yep.
and the sheep are all certified organic, and they need the Anatolians
Yep.
to protect them from
Yep.
various predators.
Yep. Only 130 cases of this, you guys, and it's delicious. I might drink it all right now. But really good example there of Chenin. You just did a dinner last night here in Santa Cruz, and I mean, what were you having there? Did you have some of this Chardonnay that we're gonna taste right next?
Let's see. We poured actually the estate Roussan.
Okay.
at the dinner.
Oh, the Roussan, nice.
Yeah.
So Roussan, if you don't know Roussan, that is a white variety from the Southern Rhone, pretty much.
And Hermitage.
And Hermitage as well. So Roussan, Marsanne, Viognier, Grenache, Blanc, all those kinds of great aromatic wonders. And this is a Chardonnay right here. Tell us a little bit about this vineyard.
So this is a Santa Cruz Mountain Chardonnay. It's from, it's a vineyard called Kimari Vineyard right now. It used to be Howard. And it's sort of a backyard vineyard, and it was planted in, it was either late 70s or early 80s or something. So it's like 40 years old.
Yep.
Maybe it must have been the 80s. And it's all planted to Wente. So it's got that higher acid profile and freshness.
Yep.
And we definitely make it old world style.
Yep.
All indigenous and year in barrel, then 6 months in stainless.
Yeah, really
It's
fresh.
super
I mean, I love it. There's like a little white peach. There's some melon kinds of notes in here too. There's some real nice crispness too. But it's also got some nice minerality to it as well. You could probably kid some people and say it's a Chablis, and some people might even believe him. But the fact is, it's not. This is not about the bunch of oak. This is not a butter bomb. This is nothing like that. It's a really well-made wine. I mean, I could think about 50 different types of seafood that I would want with this.
I mean, I like to tell people if you can taste the oak in a wine, I consider it a flaw.
Yeah, exactly.
But we do use new oak, but we worked with our cooper in France over a number of years to dial in a toast level. It was a long toast, like hardly anybody does really long toasting.
Right.
And it's really light.
Yep.
But long, and then it's a steam bent barrel, so it's super transparent. And so even when we use new oak, you don't taste it.
Right. Now, speaking of great grapes, here we got Pinot Noir, and we had to pre-taste this wine, you guys, just because I had to make sure that he's totally right about everything. No, we just have fun, but I gotta say this wine is killer. So this is a very special part of the hillside vineyard that is right behind us here. This is Old Corral, and man, this is 2021. This is like, it's delicious. I mean, so whereabouts on this map is this? You've got a few different parts, right? You've got the Swan clone over here.
Right, and this is the Old Corral block, and there was some remnants of what appeared to be a corral. That's where the name came from. Because this was an old turn-of-the-century homestead property.
Okay.
And it was first planted by French guys, probably right around the turn of the century. And it was farmed up until about 67 by this guy, Justin Lecoux, and it was called Frenchie's Ranch. This is a
Frenchie's
picture
Ranch.
of the hand-painted metal sign that used to be at the...
Cute.
So,
yeah, Frenchie's Ranch. So
anyway, so the block, so we have that block over there, which is where all the Swan selection is. And then we've got Mount Eden here, 37. And then this vintage is the first one that includes some Bon Romanée that was planted in this area.
Yeah, so 3 different clones, really interesting stories behind each of those clones put on this property here. Different angles, a little bit, different age of the vines. You're tasting all of that in this wine. I mean, that's what I really love about it. It's got everything, and it does have a little bit of that forest floor. I mean, look at everything around it, you guys. These are redwood trees, and there's a lot of pines and things like that. You don't go out there with your power blower and blow these leaves away. They become part of your natural compost. I mean, is what it is. They become part of the ground, and so you really do taste that as well. I mean, it's a great wine.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100% whole cluster.
Yeah, and that that structure, I think I said it when I smelled it, I could smell the structure. I was like, whole cluster is really one of those things that you really want to kind of put it in there with the stems and everything. But if the stems are green, that's not good.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. You almost have to snap them. Is how you have to make sure that they're in the right stage. And I think this is a very good example.
Well,
of that.
we're dry farm too, so we get early lignification in the vineyard.
Yeah.
So we don't have a problem with that sap.
Yeah.
Because it's when they're green and the sap is still running, then it bleeds into the wine and you get that really astringent tannin. It's not fun.
No, it's not fun at all. Yeah, at all. So let's taste the Grenache. So here we go into Grenache, you guys. Like I said, we've got a lot of dynamic wines here. This is the Coastview Vineyard, and it is the one that's a little bit off to our left here. We can't really see it, but it is. It's an amazing one. It's up in those mountains. It's looking towards the ocean, but there's another big ocean break there, and that's the Santa Lucia Highlands. So
yeah, I mean, you're looking out. Well, yeah, we can't see it. You're looking right over Salinas at
Salinas,
Monterey Bay.
Yeah, and the Monterey Bay. Yeah, that's right. Sorry. So this is actually, and it's kind of going downhill like this. Tell everyone about there's a valley next to it. I mean, it's like 2,000 foot drop.
Right. Yeah, it literally drops 2,000 feet because the vineyard's at about 2,000.
Yeah.
And it drops into the Chular Canyon.
Yeah.
It's like really precipitous.
Yeah, it's crazy. But, Grenache is so wonderful. I always like to say, sometimes you're looking at a wine list and there's, got 3 pages of Pinots, and, you've got people that are you're having vegetarian dish and she's having scallops and I'm having, chicken and he's having beef. What do? Well, I mean, a lot of times you could really kind of fine tune the Pinots, or maybe you just need Grenache, I mean, to be really honest, because Grenache it's as close as you get to Pinot as far as the texture. It doesn't have the acid that Pinot does necessarily, but it has the texture and the roundness in your mouth. It's not the tannins are not the most important part, especially if you're a good winemaker like him, because tannins are a problem with this, and you can make them where you think, oh, you can't make the big tannic monsters and with Grenache. Oh yeah,
I mean, it is a real thick-skinned variety, and yeah, and we're just super gentle. Foot crush, 100% whole cluster. Yeah. And as I was mentioning to you earlier, it's like you got to age it in big. Either we have concrete tanks or big puncheons, neutral puncheons, and we don't like any new oak because I just find it sticks out like a sore thumb on Grenache. It's like
this is just really, it's kind of sexy, you guys. I mean, the mouthfeel it's very silky and it's plush and it just feels like it's you just really want to pair it with something fun, and just something that's kind of elegant dish, and sophisticated. What do you like with Grenache just in general? What's some of your favorites?
I think it can be really good with like a grilled pork on a wood fire. It's like a really good point. What did we have last night? We had this wild Hokkaido shrimp, scallops, pan-seared with a peri-peri, and that was a surprising. It was like served on little potato puree.
Yep.
It was really good pairing with this. That was fabulous. And I wouldn't have thought to pair scallops with a wine like this, but it worked.
And that's why I think Grenache, it is the most grown red grape on the planet. And a lot of people do not know that, but if you go to Spain, Garnacha is Grenache. It's actually where it came from, and we know that. And it's also becoming an important grape here in California. And then there's another one called Marcelin, which I need to tell everyone to start growing because it is a cross of Grenache and Cabernet, which is unbelievable. Yeah, so I'll tell you, he'll be growing some after I get done with it. But Marcelin is really amazing, and so there's things, and then you make the GSM kind of style too. You do one of those as well. GSM, so that's Grenache Syrah Mourvedre, or as I always say, like, if you go to an Australian, bar and someone says, "I want some GSM, mate," and like the interpreter says, what he really wants is Grenache Syrah Mourvedre, and like that's what it is. Yeah, mate. That's my Aussie. I hope you guys that are Aussie out there respect that. But I did.
And it's funny because people talk about Pinot being the hardest variety to grow.
Yeah.
That was just like some. That was some, I think, fallacy created by Sideways.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if it's growing in the right spot, it's actually one of the easier grapes to grow.
Yep.
there's less vine management. Like Syrah is way harder to manage.
Yeah.
And Grenache is actually really tricky too.
Yeah.
You know, it has super dense canopy. You have to, but it also is prone to bleaching. It's prone to overcropping or undercropping.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do it right.
Yeah. That's good lessons for you guys. Don't forget all this information. You'll be tested on it later. So we're going to move on. Now we're going to go to a Syrah here. And this is, you know, I got to say, you make some of the best Syrahs in California and America, in my opinion. You know, really, what got you into the Rhone? You know, how did you start going for the Rhones?
Well, you know, part of it, like when I decided to find a property to plant grapes, and I discovered this place, and it had been overgrown, and I was like climbing through 10-foot poison oak up there in the middle of the vineyard, and I started finding the grape stakes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this was a vineyard.
Yeah.
So that's how I found the property. But my idea was, this was like in '98.
Yeah.
I think Santa Cruz Mountains would be great for Syrah. It's steep hillsides, rocky soils, cool enough, and you know it's known for Pinot and Chardonnay, of course, and up at Ridge, you know, the cap. But I'm like, we're gonna do Syrah, and I just felt like, and that was before Sideways came out, and everybody thought Syrah was gonna be the next big thing.
Yeah.
But,
well, it still is. It still is a big thing, you guys. Do not doubt that, and I think that one of the downfalls of Syrah, it's not that it's not great. Believe me, I just think that some of the stuff, how we really got into it, I think in America was because of Australia, and the Shiraz, and like, you bet Shiraz, you know. But you know, I think that some of those wines from Australia are not really drinking that well anymore. They're very heavy, and they're big, and like, you know, if we ate red meat every day, maybe we'd be thinking a little bit different. But the types of Syrah that we have here, we have a lot of cool climate Syrah, and that's what I really like about this. This is kind of like, you could call this cool climate. It's up there like 1,400 feet up here, and this is really Big Basin. Why is it called Big Basin? Big Basin is the name of this national park right here. Is it
it's a state park.
It's
the
state
oldest
park.
state park. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's right here, and it's an amazing forest there, and
Old growth redwoods.
old growth, and we're gonna go there later today. I mean, because of course, if you're here, you have to go to Big Basin. But this is actually right next to it. I mean, it really starts right over here.
Yeah, it's like right over here. Yeah.
So, you know, when you get into that, that's like, you are so close. How far from the ocean was this house? Or the
About
winery?
6 miles.
6 miles. That's it. And you're going really into like Davenport and those kinds of areas that are before you get to Santa Cruz, like really kind of a little bit before that. And you're really looking at that Bonnie Doon. You guys see the video that I did with Ryan Beauregard, and you know, who really had that same place that Bonnie Doon Winery was. I mean, these are amazing places where you can do this. They can ripen up there, but you're also dealing with fog. So tell us a little bit about the fog and how that works up here.
Yeah, well, a lot of times, you know, people talk about these transverse east-west valleys. Yeah. Well, fog generally pushes kind of from the north, and that's why it sits over Monterey a lot, and it pushes down the Salinas Valley. So in Santa Cruz Mountains, it comes in from the Pescadero drainage oftentimes, and it pushes that way, which is right back over here. So it'll flow down the San Lorenzo Valley through this wind gap and through another wind gap. So we get fog every night, like typically like this time of year, but then it burns off. Yeah. So
and it kind of leaves that little bit of dew right there and on the leaves. And, you know, this is dry farmed, you know, and there's like just, it's a special area. I mean, it's naturally cooled by these forests around it too, especially on the edges. This gets good sun. I mean, you can't say all of them are there, but is this kind of facing southeast or
well, these roads go north-south.
South.
They're north-south roads. So yeah, this is due south. This is due west.
West. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like, so the sun is setting here, so you can kind of see the shadows right here, you guys. So the sun is setting out here and kind of going over there.
It's a lot of western exposure. Yeah, it's a good late day sun.
Yeah, and it's high up there, so you're above the fog line technically. I mean, but you're right. You're really right there. I mean, you're right there in the. You're gonna get the fog stir right there, but it'll burn off before it does some of these lower areas. That's for
I mean,
sure.
we're like in the geographic center of Santa
Yeah.
Cruz Mountains.
Yeah.
If you like looked at a map of the mountains and put a dot in the middle, that's kind of where this vineyard is. I mean, the nearest vineyard's being 6 miles away.
Yeah.
David Bruce in one direction, Reese in the other.
Yeah. And good wineries too. I mean, and the other thing about Santa Cruz Mountains that has to be said is I just did say, state parks and national parks. There's a lot of just these. You cannot basically take these trees out. They are just what they are. It's actually David Bruce was the one who really said, well, I make good wines here, but I can't make what I really want to, so I'm going to invest in some vineyards up in Russian River Valley, and that's why they did come there. We have Ridge Winery here. Some of you guys know Ridge, a very, very famous winery, and touched our lives in so many ways in different.
And that was a big inspiration for me. Planting grapes in the Santa Cruz Mountains was Ridge and Mount Eden and the historical.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of history in this area, you guys, and I think we were talking about Paul Masson, and you guys, oh, that's cheap wine. No, Paul Masson himself, that was like, he was actually bringing some of the first, cuttings of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay over to the United States. I mean, this guy was, back before Prohibition, and
1800s.
I mean, and it was done here in these Santa Cruz Mountains, and that's what's so special. It's like amazing, for you to invest in this area. And I've been following him for, it's way over 25 years now that I've been following you. That your vines started putting out there, in the early 2000s, right there. What was the first vintage? It was like
2002, and it was this vineyard, Rattlesnake Rock, Syrah.
Rattlesnake.
2002.
Yeah, this is Rattlesnake, and Rattlesnake Rock is like pretty much right here. That's a big rock formation that's got basically rattlesnakes in it.
Yeah, we see rattlesnakes. Fed a lot of vineyard workers with them.
Yeah, that's good. They look interesting for a while. When they start rattling, you react quickly. Don't let them bite you. Yeah, get out of the way. But they exist up here, and this is such a unique area. So you see why this is not all covered with wineries and vineyards up there. It just can't be. And it's rugged. And there's things that even just this, these are big canyons. Most
of it would be unplantable.
Yeah.
I mean, and the early settlers, when this got homesteaded, this is at the head of a drainage, right? It's the top of the ridge.
Yeah.
This separates these two drainages, and it's the only place where there's like farmable land. And like down the ridge further, there's another homestead site where they grow cannabis now. And it's like
cannabis. You ever hear about that with Santa Cruz? Never. It's a great culture here, you guys, and there's one more that we were just going to taste real quick, and this is our last one here, but it's the 62 Terraces. This is you got yours. I'm going to pour mine. Yeah, and 62 Terraces. Tell us a little bit about 62 Terraces.
The Rattlesnake was they're all Alban field selections, and field selections are different than clones. And in the Northern Rhone, there's a strong belief that field selections are the way to go.
Yep.
And Rattlesnake was from Côte-Rôtie. It's like the only one that Alban ever said where it was from, and it looks different than all the other Syrah. It's like these long, loose clusters. Yep. And 62 Terraces is these terraces starting here, going all the way to the top of the ridge.
Wow.
And this is all Alban Power Block, and this is all Alban Baby Block. So it's two other field selections, and it just produces. I mean, you get the terroir similarities between the two wines, but it is quite different.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, just what is the slope here? I mean, like with your hand.
Pretty
I mean, is it
steep.
like?
Well, the terraces are like potentially collapsing in places. I mean, it's terraced all the way up. It's a workout.
It's a workout, you guys, and that's the thing here. Santa Cruz is great. You guys get here, you obviously have to come to the wine bar here, and I can't recommend Big Basin anymore. I mean, I was really happy when you were over on the other side of the hill, looking at Silicon Valley, very close by there. But this is really a place that is its own being. And when you come here to Santa Cruz, and you look down and you can see Big Sur from here, you can just from the beach you can see it and how it bends here. This is one of the deepest bays in the world, And
Monterey Canyon, a mile deep.
It goes a mile deep.
Mile
It's
deep.
5,000 feet.
It is the deepest ocean water off the continental shelf,
Yeah.
anywhere in the U.S.
In the U.S. So you also, some of the other places that you have, especially when we're talking about the Gavilan Mountains, you've got winds that are coming off of that, that are cold air. I mean, that's just what it's coming off of a very deep ocean here. And I feel like that this is so interesting. I'll tell you, I've had a great few days being here. I always love hanging out with Bradley Brown, and I love tasting these wines, but I recommend that you guys come to Santa Cruz Mountains as well. It's just a fantastic area. And
surfing, mountain biking, all kinds of fun stuff, beaches,
boardwalk if you got kids.
Pretty damn fun, boardwalk.
Yeah, they
100-year-old roller coaster.
Yeah, they do karaoke every night at the bowling alley, just FYI, not just one night a week, no, every night. So we found that out the hard way the other night. But it's just fun and it's great. But there's also a lot of treasures like these vineyards that it's not just about Bradley. He wasn't the first one to plant these vines. It's about the heritage that was here before Prohibition and why people were thinking this was going to be great, and it is great, and that's the wonderful thing about it. But Bradley, thank you once again. It's really fun. Always great to see you.
Appreciate it.
The Varietal Show will be back, and we appreciate you guys always watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers!